Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the Final Fantasy XII Ultima project. We remember last time we went and kind of finally made the little medallion that goes in between the two drums over here, and we're finally at a point where we're basically finished all this bottom part. We're finally at that point where we can kind of combine the clay figure we have up top with the wooden figure down below. So to do this, if we look on the side, we finally get to this point of doing these little kind of hockey stick pieces that come out from under the dress and stick out beyond the drums. Now, there's a reason I don't have the wings and stuff on her right now. It's because I'm going to be pulling her on and off quite a bit throughout this. The wings just kind of get in the way of things. Makes it a little more complicated because as of right now, the way she's situated, I either need to raise her up or I need to pull her forward because there's not enough physical space for these elements to fit between the dress and the drums here. So I can do that part off camera. It's going to be a little tweaking, maybe just pop a little new hole in there or just kind of extend the piece I have. I'll figure that out off camera. But I just wanted to kind of show this off real quick because the real hero of making this stuff is, I know I spent a lot of time drawing that emblem on the last session, but typically if we have this type of element going on, there's going to be a little back and forth. Pieces of cardboard are the way to go. And you can just like use, for this scale type thing, you can use like cereal boxes, like any kind of food boxes you have. If you order something online that comes in, you can cut those down, and those are great because where the folds are, you know this is going to be a nice perpendicular line. Like in the corners, you can just kind of carve out, and that gives you a good 45-degree angle to go off of. So from here, I did kind of a quicker kind of sketch of what I'm going to need to do for this. I'll cut this out, put it up here, see how it fits, make some tweaks, come back down, trace it, make the tweaks on here, put it back up again. So this could take like 2, 3, 4 iterations before it winds up being correct. But I just kind of want to show what that is. And then once we do have this correct, then we can go and trace it onto the real piece of wood we're going to be using for this thing, which in my case is going to be that. I'm trying to think of where I even used it on here. I've already forgotten where I used it on here, but it's that 3/8 piece of plywood that's going to get used somewhere. That's right, it was the base that she's actually sitting on. So I'm going to disappear real quick, trace this out. I'm going to do that whole kind of process, and then I'll meet you back when we get to actually tracing this onto the wood piece that we need. All right, and I'm back. And as you can see, it took a couple iterations to kind of tweak this thing out, starting from the first, second, third, and finally our fourth one down here. So now that we have this kind of figured out, we can just move you over, trace it onto this nice 3/8 piece of plywood that I have. Again, this one was used for the base of a bay window, actually. It's kind of made for soffits and whatnot. But the width is perfect for this because we don't want it to be super wide. So just get you down. Realize I can't see the mark I just made. We're gonna cut this guy out and see how this all fits. Hopefully well, and hopefully I remember to turn the volume down on this when we go. And can the camera see anything is gonna be the big question. And can I see anything is also the question. Cord on this thing is not helping. I find the light does not actually help this in terms of being able to see anything. can go back to the workstation and see how we did. Alright, and with these guys here cut out, we're now ready for the next step. So you can see Ultima herself is gone. And next step is going to be taking a little 3/16 dowel. I've already kind of chopped down to size. And we're going to stick a little bit in here so we can then attach it to the base piece we have over there. Otherwise we need something we're going to be attaching this to. So to do that, I might as well pull this off. I just have a drill bit up there. But once again, I'm going to start with the smaller bit than I need, then I'll go and give myself a bigger bit as we go. And the goal is to not hit my finger. Or go too far. Well, we can go too far and we can hit the central column. That's not a problem, just as long as the piece we're gluing in there doesn't go into the central column. Alright, that should do it with that size. And now we just go get a bigger size on here. Now we have the full 1/16 of an inch. I've already kind of done the intro sizes on this, so hopefully this drills out nice and neat. With that, we can put that little piece in there. That's all we need on that. And we do the same thing on these guys. Make these a little bit bigger. That should be plenty big. And that should be plenty big. Where is my sandpaper here? Let's get the little fuzzies off of this thing. We don't need the little fuzzies on here. They can go. Okay, so if that sits down in there, that means when this guy goes in, I feel like that's sitting up just a little bit, and I do believe that is sticking out further than it needs to. That works. Okay, that's kind of working, kind of not. I feel like they're both sticking out a little bit further than they need to, but... And they do need to be out a little bit to the side, because if I went too far forward, the dress wasn't going to fit. So I think overall I want to drop this down just a little bit, which I can do by sanding the bottom of this. And I'll meet you back when I get that part done. So, progress. Alright, and we're back here, and I've gone ahead and trimmed off a little bit on the bottom here, so it sits down a little bit further than it did before, which is good. And I've also gone and kind of widened the side hole, so this can be a little bit closer together, where it's a little too far to the side. This will bring it a little bit close to the front. And if this is a little loose right now, that's fine. In the end, this is all going to wind up being, when I do these 4 legs, they're going to be glued onto the central column to begin with anyway. So it can be a little loose now. This will become one kind of piece, so it'll be easy enough to paint around that when I get to it. So no problems there. That said, I'd like to show this whole thing fits with Ultima on here and everything is nice and good. However, last time I went to take the kind of slide this piece off of that metal dowel that kind of runs through Ultima, it kind of went and pulled, rather than sliding off nice and easily, because this is almost 2 inches worth of wood and there's so much friction on here, it actually pulled the metal rod out of Ultima herself, which, if you went back and you actually watched the very first episode of this entire series, where I was doing the clay modeling part, and in that one we went and spent like the first 10 minutes making that wireframe core that goes into her. Yeah, that metal rod that goes into her, that's not supposed to come out. So for the time being, we're just going to take a lot of this stuff on faith that it's going to work, because I really don't want to be trying to slide this in and out and ruining the model itself. So we're just gonna go ahead and say this will work in the end, and just leave that at that. That then brings us to the next step here of actually carving this down and making this look good. So we essentially have a band that goes around the outside. There is a little kind of corner thing, almost like a knee pad area that kind of comes around in here. And we have two bands on there that need a little something going on. So let's go and carve the main parts out first, and then we go and do the minor stuff from there. All right, so there we go. We're nice and smooth. And once again, let's go and draw out what we need for the next step. So this now has our two bands, and that knee pad area now stand out. So now we need to make the other pieces either stand out or recede, as the case may be. It gets less important as we get up in here. This is the most second, and the stuff up there doesn't really matter as much. But the usual, we always kind of want to sand this thing, get all these little kind of rough fuzzies and all type of stuff off of here, smooth it down. That's pretty much what we have. So you're going to get popped in here. I still need to do the back side, but we have a front side there. We can combine that with one I've already done off camera, which is why you noticed I was conspicuously not showing that part. And if we come up here and I can find the hole in this, you can see when they come forward now, at least what I'm looking for is to be just kind of slightly outside of where these two are coming down. And that's all I need. I haven't twisted those at all because those are kind of good landmarks on what I'm aiming for this. And this should all fit when it goes together. All right, now with these legs here, these kind of little hockey sticks done, we have one more thing we got to get done here. And that's we have these two flat surfaces down here, and my goodness, we can't have any flat surfaces on this. It's just not allowed. We need to put a little detail on here. So a little more relief work to do up in here. So let's go. None of this stuff is actually attached at this point, so it all comes off pretty easily. And we're going to have one piece relief here, and we're going to start by just kind of moving my camera over to where it's actually somewhat useful. Just need to kind of grind down this just a little bit so I can actually put my drawings on here. Let's see, where's the camera facing? Alright, and with that, I can put this on here, and we have a little bit kind of what we had before going on. We're going to have this come out, down, over, and let's go pop those out. This is just because I have you sticking down, so my goal here is get that in the little hole so that we can kind of see now. There's not much going on this side of things. 1 second. Yeah, there's really not much happening on the bottom here. Okay, so once again, we're gonna swap over to this guy here. Alright, so that gets a little bit of relief on the sides. And again, the front we're not going to see because the front has the medallion right on top. Now let's go ahead and take this and whoop. I'm just using an 1/8 inch drill bit for that. And there we have it. We have that goes up there. Let's go and put everything together here, just kind of finish this all off, at least for today. Okay, so that's in there. My hands are an absolute disaster right now, but that's okay. This entire workspace. The vacuum has been getting a lot of work recently over here. Not gonna lie on that one. Vacuum has been very, very busy. Alright, so we have those guys. They come in. This here slides down as such. Get those in. And just kind of temporarily pop that guy up. Good. There we go. There, no! Friction's not holding it. Ah. It's nicer when friction works. But there we go. We have most of the base is now in here. And all we have left to do is next session be putting the two legs that are in the back. And I actually didn't put the images up on here yet, but there's some complications with that one that I didn't foresee. They're not exactly the same as the ones in the front. And then once that's done, we finish doing the carving up top of these top two layers here around the back, because that's going to give some lines that are going to be super helpful for that. And then this part is done. And really all we have left is paint this, paint the model up top, and we do need to actually still make a real base down here. This is not a permanent look. I keep forgetting that's a thing. No, I do need to make an actual base on this. So we're getting close. We're getting close. It would be super helpful if I actually hook this thing on here, but I'm going to hold off on that until painting. Once things are painted, then I'll glue it in place. But there's no sense in gluing there now. But no, it looks good, and that's where we're gonna stop right now. I would put her back. I went to Ultima back on here again, but at the same time, I do need to leave something for the final session. I gave you a little sneak preview. She's gonna go back on here in the final session. Gotta save something till the end. But until next time, yeah, until we get those back legs going. Enjoy.